Hi, I'm Jonny from the Flyer team. Now, back in April, we ran Fly Live, which was the first virtual general aviation event. And you can catch up on all the streams just here. And as part of that, I spoke to aircraft builder Steve Hicks. And here's the video. Hello, Steve, and thanks for joining us on Fly Live. It looks like you've got your hands full at the moment with an exciting project in the background. Can you just start by telling us a bit about yourself and what you're building?
Hi, John. Yeah, well, extremely pleased to be here. About me, then, I've been a pilot all my life, really. Always interested in aeroplanes. Started, I guess, the first thing was making model aeroplanes, the usual stuff, killcraft and all that lot. Then hang gliding, and then actually got taught to fly by the Air Force at the University Air Squadron, which was great. And then joined the RAF, was in the RAF for just under 9 years, and then left to become an airline pilot. And I've recently retired, actually. What with all this COVID thing, I thought it was probably time to let the youngsters get on with it. And as you say, I've got a big project on here, so I could do with the time.
Brilliant. Yeah, so just explain what you're building.
Well, I'm building a Vans RV14. Those of you listening that know about kit planes will undoubtedly have heard of Vans. They've made lots of aircraft over the years. And the RV14 is sort of the latest version of some of their other aircraft. It's a side-by-side seater, slightly bigger than their earlier versions, the RV6 and RV7. But the nice thing about it is, and really it's the reason I chose it, is that it's got a good turn of speed. It's hopefully going to be comfortable. It's pretty stable, but they've made it mildly aerobatic as well. So you can fly from A to B in a reasonable time. And when you get there, do a loop-the-loop, a stall turn, and land for your cup of tea.
Sounds good. Great. So just tell us a bit about actually preparing and tell us about your workshop.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to make something like this, you've got to accept the fact that it's going to take a long time. I mean, I've been building it since October 17. So that's a fair while. I've probably got about another year to go, actually. So you've got to make a place to build it that you want to go to and spend a lot of time in, because it is going to take a lot of time. We actually moved up to Shropshire just before I started building this, and the place I chose specifically that had an outbuilding.
Right.
And so when we moved in here, I converted the outbuilding to a workshop and proceeded to make my workbenches and everything else I thought I was going to need. There's loads of information on the internet, on the web. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the web, I don't think I could have tackled this project. There's undoubtedly, you need lots of advice. So it was, I didn't really know what I needed apart from what I'd seen other people, but I started making lots of workbenches. I started making shelves and things like that to put things on, because when the boxes start arriving, and the boxes are full of little bits you never even heard of, you need to squirrel them away in such a way that when you get to the plans and it says use this part with this number or this bolt with this number, you know where to go to find the right bolt. Obviously, it's pretty important to put the right bolt in the right hole.
Yeah, very important. So
that took quite a while, actually. It took about 6 months to get myself sorted, ready, and I sort of planned that and arranged for the first bit of the kit to arrive about the time that I got the workshop, what I thought was just about ready. There are lots of kit planes available. With the Vans, you sort of buy it in stages. If you want, you can buy it all in one bit. And there are lots of different options. You can build the whole thing, which is what I'm doing, or you can buy a quick build kit, which saves a lot of time because most of the fuselage is completed for you and most of the wings are completed for you. So that does save a lot of time. But I decided I wanted to have a go at doing the whole thing so I can stand back and look at it and say, I built that. But it's taking a long time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Can you give us a quick tour and walk around your workshop so we can see what it looks like?
Well, I can have a go. I'll try and press a button here to swap things around. Right, can you see anything?
Yep, that looks good.
Okay, so this is an example of the workbench. There are lots of examples online actually of how to do this, so I can't claim I designed it. I just used other people's best practice. It's got certain features that you find useful. For instance, it's quite high, and the reason for that is you can stand at it and you don't sort of get a crick in the back, so you need to tailor the height of the workbench to so that you're comfortable working. So I built one workbench and then I built another one because when you've got the wings are quite long. I built lots of storage space, shelves, as you can see here. And at the top there, that's an example. That's the fin. Mm-hmm. That's the first bit you actually build there.
Yeah.
So that's the first bit. The second bit is the rudder.
Yeah.
And then you make the tailplane. So then you can see I've stored this away at various places. That's the tailplane. And then on the other side, up there are the elevators, all stored away.
Yeah.
And then all that comes actually in the first part of the kit, together with the rear end of the fuselage.
Yeah.
So you make this bit here at the same time. That comes in the first bit of the kit. You'll see at the moment, I've got this fuselage on its side. And the reason I've done that is because when it gets to this stage, you're trying to install systems and things. It's much easier to be able to stand as I'm doing now and work on it. And you can probably make out all those horrible wires. I've got a cat's cradle there at the moment.
Yes.
I'm trying to do the avionic installation.
Yeah.
Which is it's taken a lot of planning actually. Here are the wings. Obviously, when you've built them, you need somewhere to put them, and so I've made a trolley. Lots of people making these planes make a trolley for the wings, and you put it on wheels, then you can move it about the workshop.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done here. And then I built the other bench because when I was building the wings, as I mentioned earlier, obviously they're quite long, and one bench length isn't really enough.
Yeah.
So I needed sort of twice the length of a bench really to be able to work on them.
Right.
The other thing you need, of course, is power tools. So, and I got this from an idea online as well. Some chap had made a workstation on wheels, and I thought that was a good idea, and I'm glad I've done it because it's helped a lot actually.
Yeah, that looks.
So I've got a
good.
thing like a pillar drill. That's an important bit of kit because each bit of metal that comes produced by vans is very nicely formed and all the holes are drilled and things like that. But it all needs to be deburred. All the burrs need to be taken off of it.
Yeah. And
armed with a file and various other things, sandpaper. But these grinding wheels, they look vicious, but they're actually quite soft. And they just sort of take the burrs off the edge of the aluminium quite nicely. The whole thing's made of aluminium. So I've got a pillar drill, I've got the grinding wheel, I've got a bandsaw. It's a woodworking bandsaw, but I've changed the blade to a metalwork blade.
Right.
And that cuts through the aluminium brilliantly. And then I've got a vertical sander, which you probably don't need really, but I found it pretty useful. And then the whole thing can be moved about, and that's been useful for when you've got long pieces and you can't fit it in. It's hitting the wall. You just spin the bench around, and hey presto, you're sorted.
Brilliant.
You can see there's a sofa there, which hasn't been sat in yet. I haven't had time for that. And over here is what I made myself a spray booth, because each piece of metal has to be primed in some sort in this sort of climate in the UK. There's lots of different options for priming, and you have to decide what you're going to do. And everybody's got their own ideas, and everybody's got their own idea of what's best. But eventually, you've got to make a decision. And I made a decision eventually, and the stuff I chose was pretty nasty to spray. So I got myself one of these air masks, and then I built basically a box in the corner with an extractor fan. Yeah. And then I just hang stuff up in here with the extractor fan running, spray. And then it means that the rest of the workshop doesn't get covered in overspray.
Brilliant.
These boxes here, we've just had the engine delivered. It's taken about nearly a year to get the engine.
Wow. And
it had quite an interesting journey on the way here. We actually purchased it through Vans because you get a bit of discount. And hang on, I'll just swap myself back around so you can see me for a minute. Yeah. So it had quite a journey because it's supposed to be delivered from Lycoming to Vans, because you buy it through Vans to get the discount. And then Vans send it on to you. Well, on the way from Lycoming to Vans, it got lost. And it ended up in Arizona. And I'd heard that it had got lost. And then one of my mates sent me a picture that he discovered on Facebook of some chap in America building an RV14. And he posted a picture of his workshop with 2 Lycoming engine boxes sitting in it, with a post saying, "I've just got 2 engines." Anyway, cut a long story short, it was our engine. It gone there by mistake, but eventually it wound its way over to the UK. It was lost in Los Angeles airport for 2 weeks. And then it got to Heathrow and it got lost there for 10 days. But eventually it arrived.
Wow.
So
that's quite a journey for the engine then. So is there anything is there anything that you would do differently?
What, in preparing the workshop, or?
Yeah, in getting prepared for building.
Well, I think I'd have done it virtually how I've done it. In the winter, it's cold in here. I did insulate the walls. I put insulation in the walls and on the roof when I sort of prepared the workshop here. But I think in hindsight, I should have paid more attention to the heating, because in the middle of winter, or even now actually, until I got my top on here, and it's 7 degrees in here at the moment. And I've discovered that as long as it's 7 degrees and above, I'm okay. If it's below 7, it gets a bit unpleasant. So I had to put some heating in. My compressor that I had to buy to power the air tools to make the aeroplane, and also the spray gun. Although I looked at the specs and decided that it was powerful enough, a slightly larger one. I put loads of power sockets around, but you can never have enough. And guess what? I haven't got enough, because you're always in a place where you need a bit of power and you've got to run an extension lead, even though you've got lots of sockets. So I had to put more power sockets in probably.
Brilliant.
But as I say, there's loads of advice on the internet. So I think really the trouble with the internet, of course, is that you've got to try and filter out what is good advice and what is dubious advice. I mean, everybody means well, but there's no doubt about it. There is a lot of dubious advice to be had. So and the trouble is, when you start, you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could give 1 or 2 bits of advice to people who are thinking about building an aircraft, what would they be?
Well, the first thing I guess is if you've got if you've got an inkling to do it, just do it, because I've learned so much. I mean, it is an educational thing to do. I think probably the first bit of advice is don't think building an aeroplane's a way to get a cheap aeroplane, because it's not. Effectively, you're building an aeroplane, and eventually one day you'll sell it, and somebody will get an aeroplane that is built, but they haven't paid for your time to build it. I mean, having said that, the Vans aircraft are sort of quite good value at the moment. They seem to be getting good prices for the people that are selling them. But I think you've got to have the right motive, and certainly if you're going to build, you need to want to build as well as fly. Because you can't. It takes so long. Well, it certainly does to make one of these of the aircraft I'm making. It takes so long that you'd be frustrated if you wanted to get out and fly it after the first week. It's a long-term project, and I think you need to take each little job as a project in itself. So when you finish an ailer and bell crank, you think, oh, that's good. I've made an ailer and bell crank tonight. Don't think, oh, look, think about all of the work that's left, because it'd just be a bit demoralizing. Have somewhere to make it. I mean, I'm very fortunate here. I mean, I moved in here especially to get an outbuilding, and it's great. I've had loads of space here, but you don't need all this space that I've got. People have made these things in double car garages and things like that. But what I would say, the priority would be to have a place to build it, preferably outside the back door of your home. But if not, within a very short distance, because you're going to spend a lot of time constructing it, and you want to be able to sort of pop out and do half an hour if you can. Whereas if you've got a journey to get there, you'll never do that. Right. And that brings me to the other most important aspect, is have the support of your partner, because you are going to spend a lot of time in the workshop, and your partner's got to be up for it, really.
Yeah.
I think that's probably. I did make a list, actually. I think just be realistic about the time it's going to take, and then add a bit more. A lot of the kit manufacturers say, "Oh, you can make this in 1,500 hours or whatever," and you sort of work out how many hours you can do a week, and then it comes out, "Well, I can build it in 18 months." Maybe double it or something like that. Just be realistic about the time. But it's a great thing to do. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's a great challenge, and you learn lots of new skills and make lots of friends. I've made loads of friends over the last 4 or 5 years talking about this project and finding out how they're doing it and things like that.
Brilliant. Great. Well, no, that's all fantastic advice. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll maybe see your aircraft flying again soon.
Well, let's hope so. Come and have a go in it when it's finished.
I'd love to, yes. Great. Thank you, Steve.
All right, John. Bye.
Cheers. Well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And as ever, you can like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, you can also read Flyer online at issuu.com/Flyer Digital. That's issuu.com/Flyer Digital.